You know what's frustrating? When you're scrolling through job postings and every single one says fluent English required, and you're sitting there thinking, I know English, but I'm not fluent. Not yet. So how do you actually get there? How do you improve fast enough that it actually matters?
That's the question, right? And I think a lot of people feel stuck because they've been learning English for years, maybe since school, but they still don't feel confident. They can read okay, maybe write a bit, but when it comes to speaking or understanding real conversations, it's like their mind goes blank.
Exactly. It's like you know the words, but you can't use them when you need to.
Yeah, and that's actually the key problem we're going to talk about today. Because improving your English fast isn't about studying harder, it's about changing how you practice. And I mean really practice, not just memorize.
Okay, so if someone's listening right now and they're thinking, I need better English for my career, for interviews, for life, what are we actually going to cover here?
We're going to talk about why most people stay stuck at the same level for years, even though they're trying. Then we'll go through the real ways to improve quickly, the kind of things that actually work in daily life. And by the end, you'll know exactly what to do starting today, not someday, today.
All right, I like that. So let's start with the obvious question. Why do people stay at the same level for so long? Like, I know people who've been learning English for 5, 6 years, and they're still scared to speak.
Because they're learning it like a school subject. They focus on grammar rules, vocabulary lists. Maybe they use apps that give those points and streaks. And those things aren't bad, but they don't make you fluent.
What do you mean?
Think about it. How did you learn your first language, your mother tongue?
I don't know. I just picked it up. By listening, I guess. Talking to people?
Exactly. You didn't study grammar rules when you were 3 years old. You listened, you tried to speak, you made mistakes, and slowly it became natural. That's how languages work. But when people learn English as adults, they try to learn it through books and rules, and that creates a gap.
A gap?
Yeah. A gap between what you know in your head and what you can actually use in real life. You might know 100 vocabulary words, but if you never use them in real sentences, in real situations, they just sit there, useless.
Okay, that makes sense. So what should people do instead?
They need to practice like they're going to use it, not like they're preparing for an exam. If you want to speak English at work, then practice speaking about work topics. If you want to have casual conversations, practice casual conversations. Match your practice to your real goal.
So it's about being more practical.
Yeah, and more active. You can't improve fast by being passive. Watching English movies with subtitles is nice, but if you never pause and repeat what they said, if you never try to use those phrases yourself, you're just entertaining yourself. You're not training.
Okay. But let's say someone's busy. They have a job, maybe they're studying, and they don't have hours every day to practice English. What do?
That's actually good news.
How is that good news?
Because you don't need hours, you need consistency and focus. 15 minutes of the right practice is better than 2 hours of the wrong practice. The problem is most people waste time on things that don't move the needle.
Like what?
Like spending an hour scrolling through vocabulary apps or watching random YouTube videos and thinking I'm learning. That's not learning. That's just exposure. Exposure is fine, but it's not enough.
So what's the right practice?
The kind that forces you to think, to create sentences, to use the language. Speaking out loud, even if you're alone. Writing short messages or captions, even if no one reads them. Listening and then trying to say it back in your own words. Active stuff.
Okay, that's starting to make sense. But I want to ask about speaking specifically, because I think that's where most people freeze. Like, you can know the words, you can know the grammar, but when you actually have to talk, your mind just stops. Why does that happen?
Because speaking is a performance skill. It's not just about knowing, it's about doing it fast, under pressure, without time to think. And if you never practice that part, of course you'll freeze.
So how do you practice that?
You practice speaking when no one's listening. I know that sounds weird, but hear me out. Most people only try to speak English when they're in a real situation, like an interview or a meeting. And that's the worst time to practice because the stakes are high, you're nervous, and you have no room to make mistakes.
True.
So instead, practice alone first. Talk to yourself in English. Describe what you're doing. Describe your day. Pretend you're explaining something to a friend. It feels awkward at first, but it works because you're training your brain to form sentences quickly without pressure.
Okay, and does that actually help in real conversations?
Absolutely, because when you finally do talk to someone, your brain already has the muscle memory. You've said those kinds of sentences before, so it's not totally new, it's just slightly more real.
Okay, I like that. But what about people who feel embarrassed about their accent, or they think their pronunciation isn't good enough?
Honestly, that's one of the biggest mental blocks people have, and it's mostly in their head.
What do you mean?
I mean, yes, pronunciation matters, but not as much as people think. The goal isn't to sound like a native speaker. The goal is to be clear, to be understood. And most of the time, even with a strong accent, if you speak clearly and confidently, people understand you just fine.
So you're saying don't worry about the accent?
I'm saying don't let it stop you from speaking. Work on clarity, yes. Practice difficult sounds, yes. But don't wait until your accent is perfect to start talking, because that day will never come. And while you're waiting, you're losing time.
That's a good point. Okay, so let's talk about listening, because I know a lot of people say they can read and write okay, but when someone speaks English fast, they can't follow. What's the fix?
You need to listen to real English, not textbook English. Most courses and apps use slow, clear, scripted English, which is fine for beginners, but real people don't talk like that. They speak fast, they use slang, they skip words, they mumble.
Yeah, I've noticed that. You listen to a lesson and it's so clear, then you watch a movie and you're lost.
Exactly. So you need to expose yourself to natural English, podcasts, YouTube videos, interviews, vlogs, stuff where people are just talking normally. And at first, yes, it's hard, you won't understand everything, but your brain starts to adjust.
Should you use subtitles?
In the beginning, yeah, it helps, but don't depend on them forever. Try this. Watch something with subtitles first, then watch it again without. Or use English subtitles, not your native language. That way, you're still reading English, which reinforces the learning.
Okay, that's smart. So what about grammar? Because some people say you don't need to focus on grammar, just speak. But others say grammar is super important. What's the truth?
The truth is somewhere in the middle. Grammar is important, but it's not the foundation. It's more like the polish.
The polish?
Yeah, if you speak with good vocabulary and confidence but make small grammar mistakes, people still understand you. But if you only focus on perfect grammar and never practice speaking, you'll sound robotic. Or worse, you won't speak at all because you're too scared to make mistakes.
So learn grammar, but don't obsess over it.
Exactly. Learn the basics, the patterns, the common structures, but don't let it paralyze you. Use the language, make mistakes, notice the mistakes, and correct them over time. That's how you actually internalize grammar, not by memorizing rules.
That makes sense. Okay, can I share something I've noticed? A lot of people I know use apps like Duolingo or Babbel, and they feel like they're making progress because they're completing lessons. But then in real life, they still can't have a conversation. Why is that?
Because apps are great for building habits and learning basics, but they're not enough on their own. They're like training wheels. They help you get started, but if you never take them off, you never really learn to ride.
So what should people add to their routine?
Real interaction, even if it's just online. Join a language exchange group, find a speaking partner, comment in English on social media or forums, and write emails or messages. Do things where you have to use English to communicate with another person. That's where the real learning happens.
And if someone's too shy for that?
Start smaller. Voice messages to yourself, recording yourself speaking and listening back, journaling in English. The point is to create, not just consume. Even small acts of creation build your skills faster than passive learning.
Okay, I want to hear a real example, like a story of someone who actually improved fast, because I think people need to see that it's possible.
Yeah, sure. So I know someone, let's call her Priya. She was working in a call center, and her job required her to talk to customers in English every day, but she was really struggling. She could read scripts fine, but when customers asked unexpected questions, she'd panic. Her mind would go blank.
I can imagine that. That sounds stressful.
It was, and she kept thinking, I need to improve my English, but she didn't know how. She tried apps, she watched videos, but nothing really clicked. Then one day, her manager told her, you need to improve or we'll move you to a different role. And that was her wake-up moment.
So what did she do?
She changed her whole approach. Instead of just studying English in general, she started focusing on her specific problem, which was handling unexpected questions. So every day after work, she'd write down the questions customers asked that confused her. Then she'd practice answering those exact questions out loud, over and over.
Just by herself?
Yeah, at home. She'd stand in front of a mirror and pretend a customer was asking her something difficult, and she'd answer. At first, it felt silly, but after a week, she started noticing that when similar questions came up at work, she didn't freeze anymore. She had practiced. Her brain knew what to say.
That's actually really smart.
Right? And then she took it a step further. She started listening to recordings of native English speakers handling customer service calls. Not to memorize their words, but to notice how they spoke, the rhythm, the pauses, and the phrases they used to sound polite and professional.
And did it work?
Within 2 months, her confidence completely changed. She wasn't perfect, but she could handle most calls without panicking. Her manager noticed, her teammates noticed, and the best part? She realized she didn't need years to improve. She just needed the right kind of practice.
I love that story because it's so relatable. She wasn't trying to become fluent in everything. She just focused on what she needed.
Exactly, and that's the lesson. You don't have to master every part of English at once. Start with your specific need. If you need English for job interviews, practice interview questions. If you need it for presentations, practice presenting. Focused practice beats general studying every time.
Okay, so let's get practical. If someone's listening right now and they want to start improving today, what should they actually do? Like, give me real steps.
All right. First thing, identify your biggest weakness. Is it speaking, listening, writing? Don't try to fix everything at once. Pick one.
Okay, let's say someone picks speaking.
Good. Then the first step is to speak every day, even if it's just 5 minutes. And I mean actually speak out loud, not in your head. Out loud. You can talk about your day, describe what you see around you, or answer random questions you find online. It doesn't matter what you say, just say something.
And that's enough?
For building the habit, yes, but to actually improve, you need feedback. So step 2 is to record yourself. Use your phone, record a 1-minute speech about any topic, then listen back. You'll hear your mistakes. You'll notice where you hesitate, where your pronunciation is unclear. That awareness is powerful.
Okay, what's next?
Step 3, learn from real content, not textbooks. Find English podcasts, YouTube channels, or shows that match your interests. If you like cooking, watch cooking videos in English. If you like football, listen to football podcasts. The key is to enjoy it so you actually stick with it.
And how do you practice with that content?
Active listening. Don't just play it in the background, really focus. Try to repeat sentences you hear. Pause and summarize what they said in your own words. Write down phrases that sound useful. Make it interactive.
Got it. What else?
Step 4. Find a practice partner or join a community. There are so many free language exchange apps now. You can find someone who wants to learn your language and you help each other. Even just chatting for 15 minutes twice a week makes a huge difference.
And if someone's too nervous for that?
Then start with text first. Join English forums, comment on YouTube videos in English, and participate in online groups. Get comfortable expressing yourself in writing, then move to speaking when you're ready.
Okay, and last step?
Step 5. Be consistent but patient. Improvement doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen if you show up every day, even 15 minutes, even on days when you're tired. The people who improve fast aren't the ones who study for 5 hours once a week. They're the ones who do a little bit every single day.
That's good advice. Okay, but let's talk about something I think people struggle with, motivation. Like, in the beginning, you're excited, you practice every day. But then after a week or two, life gets busy, you skip a day, then another day, and suddenly you've stopped. How do you stay consistent?
Honestly, you make it so easy you can't say no.
What does that mean?
It means if your goal is to practice English for an hour every day, you'll probably fail because life happens. You get tired, you have work, and you have family. But if your goal is 5 minutes or even 3 minutes, you can always find that time. And once you start, you usually do more anyway.
So start small?
Yeah, build the habit first, then expand it. And also tie it to something you already do, like practice English while you're having your morning coffee, or listen to an English podcast during your commute. When it's attached to an existing routine, it's easier to remember.
That's smart. Okay, what about people who feel like they're not improving, like they're practicing but they don't see progress?
That happens a lot, and it's frustrating, but usually the problem is they're not tracking their progress. Improvement in language learning is slow and gradual. You don't wake up one day fluent, you improve in tiny, tiny steps, and if you're not paying attention, you miss them.
So how do you track it?
Keep a simple journal. Every week, write down one thing you learned or one thing you did in English that you couldn't do before. Maybe you understood a full conversation in a movie. Maybe you spoke without translating in your head first. Maybe you used a new phrase correctly. Write it down. Over time, you'll see how far you've come.
I like that. It's like proof of progress.
Exactly, and it reminds you that you're moving forward even when it doesn't feel like it.
Okay, so we've talked about speaking, listening, practicing, and staying motivated. But I want to ask about something a bit different, mindset. Because I feel like a lot of people have this belief that they're just not good at languages. How do you deal with that?
You challenge it, because it's not true. No one is naturally bad at languages. Everyone learned their first language as a kid, right? That proves your brain is capable. The difference is how you're learning now and what you believe about yourself.
So it's about confidence?
Partly, yeah, but it's also about changing the story you tell yourself. Instead of, I'm bad at English, say, I'm still learning English. Instead of, I always make mistakes, say, mistakes help me learn. It sounds simple, but the way you talk to yourself matters.
And what if people around you discourage you, like they laugh at your mistakes or make you feel dumb?
Then you distance yourself from them if you can, or you just stop sharing your progress with people who don't support you. Not everyone will understand your goals, and that's okay. Protect your energy. Find communities or people who encourage you instead.
Yeah, that's important. Okay, I think we've covered a lot, but before we finish up, can we just go over the main points? Like if someone's listening right now and they want to remember the key things, what should they take away from this?
Sure. First thing, improving your English fast is possible, but it requires the right kind of practice, not just passive learning, active, focused practice that matches your real-life goals.
Okay, that's one.
Second, speaking is a skill you build by speaking. You can't think your way to fluency. You have to actually use the language, make mistakes, and learn from them. Practice out loud, even when you're alone.
Got it. What else?
Third, consistency beats intensity. 15 minutes every day is better than 3 hours once a week. Build a small habit and stick to it. And fourth, be patient with yourself. Progress is slow, but it's real. Track it, celebrate it, and keep going.
I love that. Simple but powerful. Okay, so as we finish up, what would you say to someone who's listening right now and feeling a bit overwhelmed, like they want to improve but they don't know where to start?
I'd say start with one thing, just one. Don't try to fix everything at once. Pick your weakest area, speaking, listening, whatever it is, and practice that for the next week. Just that one thing, and see what happens. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to start.
And if they fail, if they miss a day or feel like they're not good enough?
Then they start again. No guilt, no shame. Just start again. That's the whole secret, not perfection. Just showing up. Over and over.
That's really encouraging. Okay, so for everyone listening, here's what I hope you take from this. Improving your English isn't about being talented or lucky. It's about being consistent, being brave enough to practice, and focusing on what actually matters for your life. You don't need years. You just need the right approach and the willingness to try.
And remember, every person who speaks English fluently now was once where you are, confused, nervous, unsure, but they kept going. And you can too.
If this conversation helped you, if it gave you even one idea to try, we'd love for you to keep learning with us. There's so much more we want to share with you about building your career, your confidence, and your future. So stay with us. Keep listening. Keep trying.
And start today, not tomorrow. Today. Even if it's just 5 minutes, that's how real change begins.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next one.
Take care.